Hi, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your workout program, nutritional plan, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. All right, so let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Okay. Hi, Nick. My shoulder is really sore, and as a result, I've stopped going to the gym for a week now. Would you recommend taking more time off from the gym, or should I go back and live through the pain? I would definitely advise you not to live through the pain. Okay. So when you're dealing with an injury, it's important to assess how severe the injury is and exactly where the injury is. You say in this case, it's your shoulder, but does it stop you from doing all shoulder exercises? For example, if it's in the anterior deltoid, you might still be able to do rear delt flies for the posterior deltoid, right? You might not be able to do lateral raises as if it's in your medial deltoid. So it's important to assess A, how severe the injury is, and B, where exactly the injury is, okay? So let's say, for example, you can't do anything for your shoulders right now. The injury is just, it's bothering you that much. There's still other muscle groups you can train. You can still train your back. You can still train your arms. You can still train your legs. It might be difficult to do certain chest movements because a lot of chest movements, you have to do a lot of pressing movements when you're doing bench press or incline dumbbell press, but you still might be able to do incline or flat dumbbell or cable flies. So I wouldn't advise anyone just to take time away from the gym if they're dealing with an injury. Okay, because there's over 126 muscles in a human body. So there's a lot of other muscles that you can train, right? So I would just make sure that when you are training in the gym, that you train around the injury. And then you assess, okay, how does this feel? So I always tell my clients on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no pain, 10 being pain, anything that's a 7 or more, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Most people, they can distinguish between good pain and bad pain. Okay. So it's important to really pay attention and listen to your body in the gym. Your body will tell you. Your body will also give you warning signs. If something's not feeling good, your body will say, okay, you need to stop this now. Those people that don't listen usually make the injury worse. Okay. So you really have to, like I said, assess the injury, figure out, okay, what can I do and what can I do? What planes of motions can I take this through and what can't I take it through? Now, as far as recovery too, it's important that you're doing everything you can to help the muscle recover as quickly and as efficiently as you possibly can. So in that case, I'd recommend using something like a topical adhesive, something like Tiger Balm. Tiger Balm works great. I would apply that 3 or 4 times a day to the area. You can go as far as even taking something like Advil. Just be careful with Advil because anything with ibuprofen is very hard on the stomach tract and the intestinal lining. So you have to be very careful with that. But if the pain is really bad, you could take like 1 or maybe 2 Advil pre-workout. But again, I would use that sparingly and only if necessary. And then going to see a good RMT that could help that area, because sometimes, like, let's say if it's dealing with shoulder impingement, for example. Well, with shoulder impingement, I find what happens is there's a lot of scar tissue that builds up in that area. So going to see an RMT at least once or twice a week will really help get rid of that scar tissue. Okay. And then worst case scenario, if the injury is not recovering, then you might want to go see a physiotherapist, maybe get some IMS work done. But if it's just like some shoulder impingement or maybe a micro tear in a deltoid, just train around the injury. Okay. But you don't have to take off weeks on end because you're dealing with a shoulder injury. I know it's frustrating and I know it's annoying, but like I said, over 126 muscles in the human body. You can still train your back. You can still train your abs. You can still train your biceps, your triceps, your quadriceps, your hamstrings, your calves. You can still do cardio. So there's still things you can do. And as I said, when it comes to chest work, yeah, you might not be able to do some heavy presses, but you still might be able to do some flies. So you just have to figure out what you can and cannot do. And anything that feels more on a level of 1 to 10, 1 no pain, 10 very pain, anything more than a 7, don't do it. Okay. And finally, I'll just remind you too that a lot of times in the gym, I have a lot of clients, what happen is they'll come into the gym at the beginning of the workout, and the injury that they're dealing with that day or that week, it takes a little time for the muscles to warm up. So that's why I always tell people, start light and see how it feels. As the workout progresses, is it getting better? In a lot of cases, it does get better because the body starts to release synovial fluid, right? And you start moving around and your body's warming up. So Assess the injury, pay very close attention, and listen to your body. Okay. Listen to your body. And that's what I would do. I wouldn't take time away from the gym. Okay. Next question. Hi, Nick. I'm a 31-year-old woman. I've noticed that I'm starting to get cellulite in my legs and butt. I don't lift heavy weights, but I do Pilates 3 times a week, and there are some exercises that we do in each class with light weights. If I start increasing the weights for my legs, will the cellulite go away? It's really difficult for me to answer this question and just give you an exact answer and say, yes, it will go away. However, I do believe it will help. Absolutely. Cellulite is usually caused from A, sedentary lifestyle, and B, genetics, right? And I mean, a lot of people have cellulite, right? Even people who work out every day get cellulite. It can happen. But when you're lifting heavy weights, you have to remember what you're doing is you're stimulating muscle growth. So if a muscle is getting bigger, okay, getting more harder, getting more defined, the skin is going to tighten around that muscle. So you're not going to have that loose skin that creates a cellulite. You're not going to have that. You're not going to have that cauliflower ass. You're not going to have that flabby ass. You're going to have a firm, tight, hard ass, right? So that comes with heavy lifting and cardiovascular exercise. You can't build a hard, firm ass with 3-pound dumbbells. I'm sorry, you can't. It doesn't happen. So whenever I see people doing these classes that have these ridiculously light weights for 30 to 50 repetitions, like, for what? What's the point? What is that doing? In my opinion, it does nothing at all. It might get your heart rate up. It's great for it's a great cardio workout, absolutely, but it does nothing for building muscle. It won't. Your muscle needs to have some type of resistance. And that's why I advise people to stay in that rep range of 10 to 15 reps. So will lifting heavier weights get rid of the cellulite completely? Probably not. But it will definitely help firm and tighten that area that you're focusing on right now in the glutes and in the thighs where cellulite builds up. Because again, the larger the muscle is and the harder and the more firm it is, the more defined it is, the skin tightens around it. So I would definitely advise you to increase your weights in the gym. Try to stick in that rep range of 10 to 15. As a reminder, if you can do more than 15 reps, the weight is too light. If you can't do 10 reps, the weight is too heavy. Okay, and if you stick in that rep range and you're consistent with your leg workouts, I think you'll definitely notice a difference. There are tons of procedures out there now, and I'm not very well versed in those, so I'm not going to recommend anyone go do them. But I've had clients that have done the laser treatments before. I know there's skin tightening, there's cool sculpting, so all those things will help to an extent as well. But I would first start lifting heavy weights, okay, and that will definitely make a difference. How much of a difference? I don't know. It depends on how bad the cellulite is, but playing around with light 3-pound or 5-pound dumbbells all day for 30 to 50 reps won't do jack shit. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. What kind of results can I expect if working out with weights once a week? I enrolled my daughter in a dance class on Saturday mornings and was going to use the gym in the same building to lift weights while she's in her class. What should I focus on for this type of workout? If you are training the gym once a week, you're not going to notice significant results with your physique. You might notice some changes. Yes, if you are training like once a week consistently for, let's say, 8 weeks, that's 8 workouts, you might notice, yeah, I get a little bit more larger muscle or more defined biceps, but it won't be anything significant. Obviously, you're going to get way more, you're going to see way better results if you're training more frequently in the gym. That's why I usually advise people to be in the gym 3 to 4 times a week. But if you're training once a week in the gym with weights, my recommendation would be to do a full body workout. So if you're in a commercial gym, obviously it's a little bit more difficult to circuit train. So you don't need the circuit train. You could do basic straight set, but I would make sure that you target every muscle group with at least 2 different exercises. So 2 exercises for your chest, 2 exercises for your back, 1 for your bicep, 1 for your tricep, and maybe 2 for your quads, 1 for your hamstring, and so on. So I would focus on doing like a full body workout. And obviously with the shoulders, you could do a shoulder press, lateral raise, rear delt raise. That's what I'd recommend. You want to target every muscle group. And 60 minutes is once a week is really not that much. So you're going to have to pack a lot of volume in there. Okay. But I say, as long as you're consistent with that, you'll notice some results. So I don't want to tell anyone not to bother, because going to the gym is better than not going to the gym at all. But again, the reality is if you're going to the gym once a week, you're probably not going to notice any significant changes in your physique. Okay. Like I said, you might notice a few slight changes, maybe a little arms a little bit more bigger. Maybe you're getting a little bit more definition in your shoulders, but it won't be anything significant. But if you are going to train once a week in the gym, my recommendation is a full body workout. Like I said, do like say 2 exercises for your chest. That could be like an incline barbell press, a flat dumbbell press. 2 exercises for your back. That could be a seated row and a lat pull down. Maybe 3 exercises for your shoulders with a dumbbell shoulder press, dumbbell lateral raise, dumbbell rear delt raise. 1 or 2 exercises for your biceps, maybe let's say dumbbell curls and maybe a barbell curl, and then 2 exercises for your triceps, rope extension, maybe some skull crushers. Move on to the legs with some barbell squats, walking lunges, straight leg deadlifts. You do say 3 to 4 sets per exercise. Pick maybe 10, 12 exercises, get 36 to 48 sets within a 60-minute period. That should be a good workout. But again, significant changes, probably not, no. But it definitely will help as opposed to do nothing at all. Yes, absolutely. So if you can only train once a week, I say do it. Just make sure it's a full body workout. Okay. Hi, Nick. Why do so many guys lift their head off the bench when they are bench pressing? I see this quite often at my gym and was wondering if lifting your head off the bench as you lift provides you with more power during the lift. A lot of people who lift their head off the bench when they're bench pressing, they don't even notice they're doing it. And the reason why they do it is because they're so tight in their rhomboids and their scapula that they get these rounded shoulders. So every time the bar descends down towards their chest, their neck pops up because they can't keep their head back because their rhomboids and their scapula are so tight. So that's why I always advise my clients when they're doing any press is they keep their head back, rested against the bench at all times. Okay, so that's wrong. And yeah, I know what you're talking about. I see guys doing it all the time. It's really bad. It's super dangerous on the neck. I mean, you're going to put so much pressure on your neck erectors. Not a good idea. So when you're bench pressing or any pressing for that movement, you should really try to focus on keeping your head rested. So your neck erectors are relaxed, right? Doing this with a heavy weight is not a good idea. And again, the reason why you see this, it's more common with guys, is because guys were so tight in this area, in the traps and in the shoulders, the rhomboids, the scapula, even the pectoralis major and minor to an extent. And that's what's causing the head to lift off from the bench. But it doesn't provide any additional benefit. In fact, it's going to cause problems down the road for people who are doing this. So I would strongly advise you not to do that. And if you find that you are doing that, or if you have a spotter and the person is telling you, hey, you're lifting your head, take the weight down until you can focus on keeping that head back at all times. Okay, so lift a lighter weight and at the same time focus on stretching. Pick up a few yoga classes. You have to focus on loosening up and creating more mobility and flexibility in the rhomboids, the scapula, and the traps. Otherwise, you're going to have severe neck issues for years to come. So do not lift your head off the bench when you're doing any bench pressing movement. That is a big, big no-no. And yeah, you see a lot of people doing it, and it's because they don't know what the hell they're doing. And a lot of people don't even know that they're doing it. So whenever I see people, when I've gone to commercial gyms and I've seen people do that, I don't say anything because they're not my clients. It's not, I don't offer unsolicited advice to anyone. But if someone asks me, I'll tell them, don't do it. You're going to have all kinds of issues. So like I said, take the weight down until you can do it properly and focus on stretching out those areas that I mentioned: rhomboid, scapula, trapezius, pectoralis major, minor. If you have to take a few yoga classes, whatever it takes, get your postural alignment in perfect position. So when you're doing that bench press, your head is relaxed at all times. Hi, Nick. Why do I always feel so much weaker when I come back to the gym after taking a few weeks off? My weight on the scale is the same, so I don't think I've lost any muscle. Yeah, if you've taken a few weeks off from the gym, you probably haven't lost muscle. What you have lost, though, is your body's ability to create glycogen into the body again. And glycogen, I've mentioned this before on the channel, glycogen is like oxygen for your muscles. So if our body is not producing glycogen, we don't have that oxygen for our muscles, and now our muscles can't lift the same weights or the amount of reps we were doing with the same weights before we took that time off from the gym. So it's like the more that you train, your body's ability to build up glycogen, release synovial fluid into the body, get rid of lactic acid from the body becomes more efficient. You take time off from the gym, your body has no reason to do that anymore. So therefore, every time you come back, it's like day one all over again. But again, you haven't lost any muscle. It takes a while to lose muscle. I mean, you have to go into a severe catabolic state for the muscle to first eat itself again, and then you have to take a prolonged period of time off, let's say 3 to 4 months off from the gym before you start really losing any real muscle. So the reason why the scale is probably the same is probably because you haven't lost any muscle. You've just lost strength because your body's ability to produce glycogen is not as efficient as it was before. So my recommendation in this case is just to keep doing what you're doing and gradually build your weights back up again. They'll come back up again, and it won't take long as you are consistent again. But this is why I always advise people too, is not to take too long of a break from the gym. When I have clients go on vacation, I advise them, like, you should be trying to get at least 2 or 3 workouts in while you're on vacation. Find a gym, because when you come back, it's going to, a lot of people think they're going to feel well rested, but the truth of the reality is your body doesn't need 2 or 3 weeks off from the gym. That's why I advise people take 1 or 2 days off a week, but you don't need to have 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, if you're feeling burnt out, take as long as you need, but your body itself, it craves exercise. It wants it, especially if you're following a structured program where you're not doing the same workout every day. If you're doing a 5 to 6 day training split, there's no reason why you can't get into the gym like on a weekly basis. Like if I'm training my legs once a week, that's only 4 leg workouts a month. That's not that much. So my recommendation, if you can, don't take too long off from the gym. And when you do, don't be surprised when you come back and you feel weaker. And depending on how long you've taken off the gym, in this case, a few weeks, you probably haven't lost muscle. But if you let that go for a longer period of time, yes, you will lose muscle. So stay consistent with your workouts. Don't take too long a break from the gym. It's not going to do you more good than, I promise you, it's not. In my experience, most people come back and they're like, man, I shouldn't have taken that much time off from the gym. So again, listen to your body, train smart. Hi, Nick. I've been experiencing really bad knee pain in both knees while squatting. I like to squat deep and my max weight is 180 for 4 reps. I can't squat the bar right now though. Is there anything you can recommend to help? So when it comes to barbell back squats, there's a few things I recommend. One would be to always squat with your shoes off. And I've spoken about this numerous times in the past, so I'm not going to go too much into detail about this, but when you have your shoes off, you can push through what we call your calcaneus, which is your heel, much more efficiently than you can with any shoe. And I don't care how expensive your shoes are, if you have fitted arches or what, it doesn't matter. 90% of people that I work with, actually 99% of people I work with, find it much more, it feels much better, I should say, when they squat with their shoes off versus their shoes on. Okay. And that's because they have a better mind to muscle connection with their glutes, their hamstrings, and their quadriceps than they do with their shoes on. Another thing I recommend doing is when you're squatting is to focus on pushing through your heels, your calcaneus, so you do activate those hamstrings and glutes more efficiently. I always tell my clients, don't worry about your quads when you're squatting. Your quads are going to contract. You don't have to focus on using your quadriceps. You're going to feel it there. But where a lot of people don't feel it is when they squat is their hamstrings and glutes. So that's why I really try to get my clients to focus on that area. And only you can focus on that area. I'm not inside you, so I can't tell you if you're firing those muscles. But if you're trying to focus on, okay, how do I fire my glutes? How do I fire my hamstrings when you squat? As you come up into a squat, focus on shifting all your weight backwards. Okay, that's going to really help you engage your gluteus maximus, your minimus, and your hamstrings. Okay. And another thing I'd recommend when you're doing a barbell back squat, and this is for people who really do suffer from knee pain, like say they have patellofemoral syndrome or any knee pain, really. I mean, a lot of people, as they get older, they get knee pain. I get knee pain every once in a while. But what I find works for a squat is to use what we call a V squat stance. So your toes and your knees are actually pointed out to the corners of the squat rack as opposed to forward like this. The reason I recommend that is that because that's going to take a lot of pressure off your patella and your meniscus. Okay. I promise you, if you go into a V squat stance, you're probably going to get better results actually in your quadriceps and your hamstrings and glutes by doing a stance, but you're also going to take a lot of pressure off your joints. Okay. So if you watch any like serious lifters in the gym, people who know what they're doing, you'll see that they tend to go with the V squat stance. It works much more efficiently than having your feet forward. Say the feet forward for a front squat. Like if you're doing a front barbell squat or a ball wall squat, those are great. And the reason why those are great is because if you're doing a ball wall squat, your back is supported. So you're going to stay at 90 degrees regardless. But if you're doing a barbell back squat, I strongly advise you use the V squat stance, let your toes and knees go out to the corners. Okay. And finally, in this case, you mentioned you do deep squats. I don't have anyone do deep squats. I don't believe in deep squats. I think the whole ass to grass thing is ridiculous. So I find that what works for most people, including myself, is just going down parallel to the floor and back up again. Any deeper, I find that puts unnecessary strain on the knees. So it might take a while for you to get used to that, especially if you're used to going all the way down, going just 3/4 of the way down. So you're parallel to the floor and back up again. And I think what you'll find is over time, if you do what I'm telling you to do, V squat stance, parallel to the ground, no deeper, A, you're going to get better results, and B, you're going to preserve your joints in your knees. Okay. Because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people I know that did the whole ass to grass squats for years, and now they can't squat at all anymore. So their knees are wrecked. Okay. So you want to keep the tension on the muscle belly and not the joints. So V squat stance, squat parallel to the ground. Try to focus on engaging your glutes and hamstrings more than your quads. You might have to drop the weight a little bit for a bit just to get that technique down. But I promise you, you're going to get better results and you're going to preserve your joints for a longer period of time. Okay. Hi, Nick. Can you make a good living from personal training? I'm thinking of taking a few personal training courses to get my license to train people. Absolutely. You can make a great living from personal training, but you have to learn how to diversify. It's just like investing. You don't want to put all your money into real estate. You don't want to put all your money into the stock market. You want to diversify, right? So when I started personal training, I made the mistake of only booking one-on-one sessions. Now, I filled up very quickly, but I was working 12 to 14 hours a day and I was killing myself. So over the years, what I learned what worked better was to offer small group classes. So I could actually make more money in less time by offering, groups of 3 to 4 people. That was one avenue to create more revenue. Another way I did was I created online training as well. So that was another avenue to create revenue. So I had my small group training, I had my private training, and I had online training as well. So I was creating 3 different revenue streams and I was diversifying my business. If you just stick to one component in this industry, you're going to burn out. I see a lot of companies that will just focus on group class training. I love group class training, but the problem with that is that group class training usually works for most people before 9 a.m., maybe at lunch hour, and then after 5 p.m. Because most people who do group class training, not all, but most people who do group class training are 9 to 5 people. So, and that's fine. But then you want to fill up your roster throughout the day, like those 9 o'clock time slots, those 10 o'clock time slots in the morning, right? Or 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And what you'll find is a lot of people who have their own businesses or, who, let's say they have more funds available to them, they want to do private sessions. So then you want to cater towards those people as well. And then you're going to have people who don't even live in the same country as you. I have a lot of clients that live in the States that work with me online. They can't work with me in person, but I can still work with them because I do the online training component through my online training app. Right. So I think you definitely can make, or I know you can make a good living from personal training because I've done it. I have lots of friends who make a great living from personal training. But again, you have to diversify and you have to know where to market your services to. Okay. So you're not going to make any money if all you're doing are flipping private sessions all day long. And I really don't think that just doing group classes alone is a sustainable business model. I think it's important to be able to offer both types of services to people so people can choose. Oh, I can come to group classes. I'm on a budget. This is a little bit more cost effective for me and it fits my schedule better. Or you have someone who is not so much on a budget and they can afford private training and they want to take that route. Now you can fill up your roster throughout the day with those people. And then you have the people who want to work with you online and you can fill up your roster with those people. It also makes the day more interesting too, because you're not doing the same thing every day. Right? There's times where I'll be training a group of 5 people and then my next session is a private session. And after that, I'm online for 3 hours. So, it keeps things interesting for me. I'm not doing the same thing day after day, hour after hour. Okay. So that's my recommendation if you're getting into this industry, and always stay on top of what's going on in this industry. And again, the most important thing I will recommend, regardless if you are training someone in a group class or if you're training someone privately or online, make sure you customize the program for that person as much as you can. And when it comes to group class training, that's why I always advise people to go with smaller group classes. Like we don't do groups larger than 8 to 10 people. That's it. Because I don't believe in this whole model of 30 plus people in a group class. I think that is just I just don't think that's good service. I don't think the trainer can focus on customizing the plan for each individual. I don't think the trainer has enough time to actually even correct technique for most people. So keep your group classes small. offer your private sessions, your partner sessions, your online sessions. And yeah, I think you can make a great living personal training. Okay, next stage. Hi, Nick. I'm having problems with walking lunges. I can lunge on my left side without any pain, but whenever I transition to my right side, I get excruciating pain in my hip and glute area. I like to use weights with my lunges and usually start with 30-pound dumbbells for 15 reps for each leg and increase the weight with each set. Am I doing something wrong? I don't like to tell people they're doing something wrong, but the one thing that I've learned over the years, especially when it comes to walking lunges, is never start off with any weight. Just use your body weight. You have to remember, a walking lunge is an isometric exercise. You're doing one side at a time, right? It's not a compound movement. So whenever I start someone with walking lunges, or even if I put walking lunges in the middle of someone's leg workout, I never, ever tell them to take weights right away, because you have to remember what lunges do put additional strain on your flexors, your hip flexors and your hip abductors. And most people, we're usually tighter in our dominant side. So you're saying your right side, I assume, I could be wrong, but I assume you're right-handed. And I have that same issue when I lunge. My right side is always tighter than my left side. My left side, no problem. But my right side, because it's my dominant side, I use it more throughout the day. It's tighter. Okay, it's not as mobile as my left side. So in that case, I want it to warm up properly. So what I typically will have my clients do is anywhere from 30 to 30, what am I saying? 30 repetitions for walking lunges, but it's 15 reps per side, right? And I'll have them do that with, let's say, no weight whatsoever. I don't want people thinking I'm giving them the 50 rep thing. I don't do that. But what I'm doing is I'm warming up their hip flexors properly. So they're still doing their 15 reps to the left, 15 reps to the right. It's alternating, equals 30 reps. And I find after one, possibly even two sets, most people are ready to take weights. Some people don't use weights at all for lunges. They might do some barbell back squats, ball wall squats, leg press, hack squats, and then finish with walking lunges. That's what Robin and I used to do at the end of our leg workouts. We'd always finish with walking lunges, and we wouldn't even take weights because our legs were always so fried at the end of the workout, and then we had to do all these lunges. So I found that was very efficient for my leg training. I got great results. I never had any hip pain. So my recommendation to you would be to stop using weights for a few weeks if you're walking lunges. Just focus on your mobility, your flexibility. Try to keep the 15 reps per side. So that would be a total of 30 reps. But again, it's 15 reps to the left, 15 reps to the right, alternating lunges, making sure you're using full range of motion, and then gradually start taking weight again if you need to. But again, just really focus on your joints. Just like the question someone had about the squats with the knees, you have to preserve your joints. Okay, that's number one, because once your joints go, it becomes very difficult to train with weights. Okay, so when it comes to walking lunges, I don't recommend ever going too heavy on them. And if you find that doing them without weights isn't challenging, put them at the end of your leg workout and then tell me how easy they are. Because I promise you, if you do a really intense leg workout and you put lunges at the end, you're not going to be able to take much weight at all. Your legs are going to be fried. So try that and see. And of course, you focus on doing your hip stretches. Again, maybe going into a few yoga classes. That might help, working with an RMT just to get into that area. All right. Last question. Nick, did you see the video of the bodybuilder who died after a 450-pound squat broke his neck? Was this the spotter's fault or the person that was squatting? I posted a video of this actually on my Instagram last week. The bodybuilder's name was Justin Vicky, and I think it was in Bali. I can't remember where. He was a social media influencer and also a personal trainer. So I saw the video because I had a lot of people send me this video. And obviously it's very sad, right? I mean, this kid, I think he was 31 or 30, and he got under a bar, and I believe it was 445s a side. What is the weight was? 450 pounds. I can tell you right now, there was a few things that I saw with that video that looked wrong. Okay, and I don't want to say whose fault it is, but the one thing I noticed was when I look at the actual kid, Justin Vicky, who was squatting, to me, he did not look physically like he could handle that type of weight. You could even see when he lifts the bar up, he's struggling with just his balance alone. Someone who can lift 450 pounds, no problem. They're not struggling with their balance. They're lifting that bar off and they're getting ready to squat, right? So that's the first thing I see is like that weight's way too heavy. And then it looks as if he's going for a 1 rep max, which I mentioned on my Instagram. I don't advise anyone to ever go for a 1 rep max. I think 1 rep maxes are stupid. I don't see the point in them. They're more of an ego thing than anything. Like, what the hell do you care how much weight you can lift for 1 rep? What does that do? doesn't build muscle. And for those people that will argue and say it builds strength, maybe, but I know a few powerlifters that when they train in powerlifting competitions, when they're training for powerlifting competitions, they're trying to focus on at least 3 to 4 or 5 repetitions, and not just, and they can handle the weight. They're big guys. So this person does not look like he's big enough to handle that type of weight. So that's the first mistake I see. Like, you're taking a weight that you obviously can't handle. Going for that 1 rep max, not a good idea. The second thing, we ask whose fault it is. Well, again, I don't like to put blame on anyone, but if you look at the way the spotter was spotting him, the spotter was holding the bar. You never hold the bar when you're spotting someone's squat. You're supposed to get under their armpits. So it happens that the person starts to go forward, which happened in this case, you can pull them back and help them get back up again. That's how you spot someone correctly when they're squatting. Okay, so the spotter was not spotting Justin Vicky correctly. But again, I don't want to say it was a spotter's fault, because I don't think Justin Vicky should have been lifting that weight to begin with. The weight was obviously too heavy for him. You can see it from the very beginning, too heavy. And this is why I always talk about keeping your reps in double digits, 10 to 15, a weight that you can handle. And as I mentioned earlier, if you can't do 10 reps, the weight's too heavy, drop it. Guys who can lift and women who can lift heavy weights, they don't need to lift ridiculously heavy weights to prove what to their ego, right? Smart lifters don't need to. And I mentioned this a few times, like when I squat 315. I probably could squat 450. I probably could get 2 or 3 reps of 450, but for what? Blow my knees, blow my hips, blow my back? Like, what is it going to do? It's going to do nothing. So I don't do it. I feel good at 315. I know I can get 10 reps. I know it's a struggle. I know I feel it in my quads, my hamstrings, my glutes. I don't feel anything in my knees and my hips. So that's a good weight for me. And I feel fine under that bar. And I don't need a spotter. And I'm not losing my balance. I can control it. So this is the whole thing. Do it for the gram and the social media. And it's sad, because now you see things like this that happen. So is it, again, I don't want to say it's this person's fault or this person's fault. It doesn't matter. It's a sad, very sad accident that happened, but should also serve as a reminder to people to don't do stupid shit in the gym, right? Don't go for these 1 rep maxes. If someone were to ask me, and I've had this happen, because in my gym, we have tenants that work in the building, and they come down and they're not used to working out regularly. And a few times they've asked me, they say, hey, do you mind spotting me? And I'm looking at the weight they're lifting, and I look at them and I'm like, no, I'm not going to spot you, because I know you can't do that weight. And I'm going to be the one that's trying to lift the bar off you. And I don't want to tear my biceps spotting someone doing a bench press. So I say, no, I'm not going to spot you. Find someone else, because that weight is too heavy for you. Okay. So you have to leave your ego at the door when you're in the gym. It doesn't matter how much weight you can lift. It's irrelevant unless you're a power lifter. And even power lifters, I know a few power lifters, they don't train like that. They start off their training with high repetitions and start to decrease their reps as they increase the weight. That's how power lifters train. They don't just go in the gym and start deadlifting 500 pounds for 1 rep. They have to warm up and have to make sure they can handle the weight. Okay, so it's very sad. It was real, like I said, it was a tragic accident. Sad to see, but it should serve as a reminder to people not to do stupid shit in the gym. Okay, so my recommendation, keep your reps in double digits. If you are going to ask for a spot from someone, just make sure that person understands how to spot you correctly. Okay. And if the person doesn't know how to spot you correctly, that's okay. Just say, okay, that's okay, I'll look for someone else. Or if you can't find a spotter, then lighten the weight and do reps that you know you can do without a spotter. Okay. I've been squatting for years and I never use a spotter, because I know what my limitations are. And that was the last thing I mentioned last week on my Instagram. I say, know your physical limitations. Okay. And that's so important. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Tuesday, August 1st, which is BC Day here in British Columbia. A reminder, if you do have any questions related to your nutritional plan, training program, or supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting my online coaching app. Thank you for supporting my business, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.